That's why.
All said? This is what we want to do. It's going along the same strategy we suggested previously. If the argument of Simmias is an analogy, how does he deal with it? What does that mean? What strategy, what method, what stages does he go through? Very interesting. We can break it up. We can see the dynamics behind it. So, how many pages would that be? Someone know how to count? If you use the lobe, it's always less pages.
10 pages.
How many?
10.
10. Would you agree? Why don't we get a couple of readers to come up and act it out? And when you see something going on as stages or method, raise your hand, tell us what you see, we'll sketch it out. Fair enough? So we need a couple of actors. 1. Chance for fame and glory. Okay. Why don't we push it a little bit up further so I can use this board. Yeah, if you face the audience, it'd be better, okay?
Can I see that camera?
Okay.
Where are we? Yes, where do you...
When you're ready,
297.
86A.
86A.
and Socrates replied, "Perhaps, my friend, you're right. But tell me, in what respect is it not satisfactory?"
490.
You have something like that in the what page?
490.
Okay, everyone 490? Let's go.
So, I'll do Socrates. "Perhaps, my comrade, your opinion is true," in the middle of the page. "But say where it is not satisfactory."
Okay, slow, loud, okay.
Here, that one could say the same about harmony and a harp with strings. That the harmony is invisible and bodiless and all beautiful and divine on the tuned harp. But the harp itself and the strings are body and bodily and composite and earthly and akin to the mortal. So when someone breaks a harp or cuts or bursts the strings, suppose he should maintain by the same argument as yours, that it is necessary the harmony should still exist and not perish. For it would be just as impossible that the harp should still exist when the strings are broken, and the strings should still exist, which are of mortal kind, as that the harmony should perish. Harmony, which is the same kith and kin as the divine and immortal, perishing before the mortal, no, he would say. The harmony must necessarily exist somewhere, and wood and strings must rot away first before anything could happen to the harmony. Well, Socrates, I think you yourself must have noticed that we conceive the soul to be something like this. That our body being tuned and held together by hot and cold and dry and wet, Our soul is a kind of mixture and harmony of these very things, when they are well and harmoniously mixed together. If, then, our soul is a kind of harmony, it is plain that when the body is slackened inharmoniously or too highly strung by diseases and other evils, the soul must necessarily perish. Although it is most divine, just as the other harmonies do, those in sounds and those in all the works of craftsmen, but the relics of each body will remain until it rots or is burned. Then consider what we must answer to this argument. If anyone claims that the soul is a mixture of the things in the body, and that what is called death, it is the first to perish.
Socrates gazed at us with his eyes wide open, as he usually did, and said, smiling,
Okay. How many hands went up?
Sure.
What's he doing? He's got the analogy. Soul is a harmony. It's invisible, beautiful, divine. Hey, does Simius add some element saying, look here, my theory can explain something? It can explain disease, health. So the implications of this, he's giving a picture of how it can be used to understand disease, health, right? The elements. That gives what? A level of credibility to his position. Go ahead.
what Simius says is quite fair. Then if any of you is readier than I am, why didn't he reply? I think he tackles the question neatly. But before the answer comes, I think we ought to hear Cebes first. What fault he too has to find with our argument. Then there will be a little time, and we can consider what to say. Afterwards, when we have heard them, we ought to agree with them if they seem to be in tune with us, or if not, we should continue as before to defend our doctrine. Come along, Cebes, speak. What worried you?
I'll tell you.
Okay, what did Socks do? He said, you know what? Sounds like a fair objection. But,
How come you guys didn't say anything?
right. Yeah, that sounds like a fair objection. Yeah, I like that. Right. Seems to score some good points. He recognizes the points. Hey, before we go, we better check on Cebes. Cebes? Cebes?
Sure.
Wait. Do you want to come up here?
Fame comes to Jeff.
Yeah, that's the big one.
I'll tell you, I think the argument is where it was and has the same objection which I made before, that our soul existed before it came into this form. I do not retract. It was a nice, neat proof and quite satisfactory, if I may say so without offense. But that when we are dead, the soul will still exist somewhere, I can't say the same of that. However, I do not agree with the objection of Simius that the soul is not stronger and much longer lasting than the body. For I think it is very far superior in all those respects. Well, the argument might say to me, why do you still disbelieve? You concede when a man is dead, the weaker part is still existing, and you don't think the longer lasting must necessarily survive during this time. Well, see if you think anything of this answer of mine. Really, it seems that I also want a simile, like Simius. I think all this is very much the same as the saying as follows of a weaver who died old. The man is not dead, but exists somewhere safe and sound. And here is a proof one might offer. Here is the cloak which he wore himself, which he wove himself, and it is used to wear, safe and sound, and it has not perished. If someone disbelieving, one might ask him, which kind of thing is longer lasting, a man or a cloak in use and wear? And if the answer was, a man lasts longer than a cloak, one might imagine that the man was certainly safe and sound, since the shorter lasting thing had not perished. But I don't think that is right, Simmias. Just consider what I have to say now. Everyone would understand that such an argument is silly, for this weaver had woven and worn out many such cloaks, and died later than all except the last, when he died before it. Yet, for all that a man is neither inferior to a cloak nor weaker. Soul and body might admit of the same simile, and one might fairly say the same about them. I think that the soul is long-lasting, and the body weaker and shorter lasting. But one might say more, that each of the souls wears out many bodies, especially if it lives many years. For if the body wastes and perishes while the man still lives, but the soul always weaves anew what is worn away, it would, however, be necessary that when the soul perished, it would happen to be wearing the last body, and would perish before this last only. And when the soul perished, the body would show at once the nature of its weakness, and would quickly rot and vanish in decay. This argument, then, is not yet enough to give confidence that when we die our soul exists somewhere. For if one should grant your supporter even more than what you say, and admitted to him not only that our souls existed in the time before our birth, but that nothing hindered the souls of some of us from still existing when we die, and continuing to exist, and from being born and dying again and again, for so strong is its nature that the soul endures being born many times. One might admit that, and yet never admit that it does not suffer in these many births, and at last in one of its deaths does not perish outright. But one might say that no one knows which death and dissolution of the body brings death of the soul. For it is impossible for any one of us to distinguish it beforehand. Now, if this is correct, it follows that anyone who is confident about death is foolish in his confidence, unless he can show that the soul is wholly immortal and imperishable. For if he cannot show this, it is necessary that he who is about to die must always fear for his soul, lest at the present separation from the body it may utterly perish.
What is CB's answer? He says, you know what? Simmias' whole position lacks just one idea. Time. That's all. He uses the term longer lasting, but that's essentially the issue of time. He wants to see that the soul is immortal. Time. So to overcome CB's shortcoming, he introduces his own analogy, and that's the second analogy with the weaver. Do you agree? Right? Now, there's going to be a dialogue from this point on to 92 about the effect this argument has had on the crowd that are around Socrates. And Socrates tries to say, look, boys, let's not consider this so serious that we give up any thought about the value of reasoning. So he has to overcome the big fear and doubt that these arguments are so strong that maybe no one can overcome them. Oh, we'll all perish into confusion. Right? So that goes on until 92, which I hope on your page is still there. Now, we have to make a decision. We either have to watch what Socrates does to overcome this doubt, skip it, or continue our exploration of Simmias's basic analogy that's behind his argument. But since we're going for the analogy, I suggest we can skip it. Okay?
Skip Simmias?
No. Skip the arguments that are going to overcome the doubt.
I agree.
Yeah. If so, then we're at 92. And he picks up, by the way, the fact that Simmias is a Theban, my Theban friend. And Socrates said, "You must, my dear Theban friend, think differently. If you persist in your opinion that a harmony is a compound and that the soul is a harmony made up of the elements that are strung like harp strings in the body, for surely you will not accept your own statement that a composite harmony existed before those things from which it had to be composed." The whole objection is right there. All right? In summary form, he's got it right in that sentence. All he's going to do is unpack it. What does he think? He says, look, if you accept the argument of recollection, well, you're going to have to give up your position. He doesn't see that, thank goodness. But take a look at that sentence. For surely you will not accept your own statement, what is it? That a composite harmony existed before those things from which it had to be composed. Hey, that's loaded. How does the Rouse do it?
Well, my good friend from Thebes, you must think otherwise. That is about the doctrine of recollection. If the notion holds that harmony is a thing composite, and soul is a harmony arising from all the elements strung and tuned in the body. For you will not allow yourself to say that a composite harmony existed before the elements from which it had to be composed. Simmias?
Right. If harmony, read that part again, watch it. If harmony is composed.
For you will not allow yourself to say that a composite harmony existed before the elements from which it had to be composed.
What's the connection? Come on, with harmony? And the things from which it is composed?
They have to exist before the harmony.
Yeah.
Not harmony before them.
Right. The implications of that is going to be for the whole argument. So stay on that for a few minutes, right? Be puzzled. It's compact. Okay, let's see you unpack it.
Simmias. Simmias?
Oh dear me, no, Socrates.
You perceive then that this is what you really affirm when you say that the soul existed before it came into human shape and body, and that it existed composed of things which did not exist. But see, harmony is not such a thing as you likened it to. No. First the harp and the strings, and their tones not yet harmonized, come into being. And last of all, the harmony is composed, and it is first to perish. Then how will your argument be in tune with that?
It will not.
Look here. For harmony is not what your analogy assumes it to be. The lyre and the strings and the sounds come into being in a tuneless condition. Right? The lyre comes into being. It's not played, it's made. It's not singing. Right? And equally well, the strings aren't strung when the strings are tied together into the lyre. Right? And the harmony is the last of all to be composed. Hey, and the first to perish. Hey, that's the end of his argument. That's the end of it. It's over. But that's not what he's after. See? It's over, right? If you see that, it's over.
Wow.
So the big question in Plato is, why does he continue? What the heck is his strategy? Right? Hey, if harmony, right, is something that must come into existence, but it needs to come into existence after these two come into existence, then it looks like the body comes into existence first, and then the soul, and then the soul dies when the lyre is no longer being played, and it comes back in again when it's played. Uh-oh. Doesn't make any sense. See, he doesn't stop at logic. He doesn't stop by just simply showing the weakness in the argument. Let's see what he does, right? Go ahead.
And how will your argument be in tune with that?
It will not.
Right?
And yet it ought to be in tune with the argument about harmony, if with any at all.
Right? He's hitting him again. Hey, shouldn't your theory be in harmony? Shouldn't there be a harmony between these two theories? What theory? About the soul and about the body. Shouldn't they be in harmony? They don't fit. Go ahead.
So it ought.
Then your argument is not in tune. But look here, which of the two do you choose? Is learning recollection, or is the soul a harmony?
I'd much rather choose the first. Perhaps the other came without proof from a likely comparison that looked good, which makes most people pleased with it. But I am conscious that arguments proved from likelihood are humbugs, and if we are not careful, they deceive us in geometry and everything else. But the argument about recollection and learning has been shown to stand on a good foundation. What was said, I think, was that our soul existed before coming into the body, just as that essence exists, which has the name of real being. This I have accepted, I am convinced, with right and sufficient reason. I must therefore refuse now, as it seems, to accept for myself or anyone else that account of the soul which calls it a harmony.
Very well.
Hey, it's over.
Yeah.
Agree? Bang, it's over. Now he's going to go through 6 steps. Why? Okay, go ahead.
Very well, Simmias. What do you think of this? Is it proper for a harmony or any other composite thing to exist in any other state than the state of its component parts?
No.
Hey, that's the whole position in a nutshell. So you have to hold on to that one. Same thing as before. It's loaded. Right? 6 steps, he's going to unpack it. You have to keep that in your mind. Go ahead.
Again, it cannot do or be done to anything else than they do or are done to?
No.
Then it is proper that a harmony does not lead the things which compose it, but follows?
Yes.
Then a harmony cannot be moved and cannot sound or do anything else in opposition to its own parts.
Impossible.
Well, is not each harmony naturally so much a harmony according as it is harmonized?
I don't understand.
Listen, if it is more harmonized and more intensely, supposing that to be possible, would it be more a harmony and more intense?
Okay, what's he doing? He's saying, look here. This admits of greater and less. If that's true, and the soul is a harmony, then some souls must have more harmony than others. Uh-oh.
That's about to go.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
Listen, if it is more harmonized and more intensely, supposing that to be possible, would it be more a harmony and more intense? And if less harmonized and less intensely, would it be less a harmony and less intense?
Certainly.
Is this true then of soul, that even in the smallest degree, one soul can be more intensely and more completely, or less intensely and less completely, that very thing, a soul, than another is?
Not in the least.
Oh, very well then. In God's name, is it said that one soul has sense and virtue and is good?
Now, as Simmias went for disease and health, so that's what Socrates is going to do. Only he's going to take it in respect to harmony. Let's see how he does it. Same point, he's taking it on the other side. Go ahead.
Very well then. In God's name, is it said that one soul has sense and virtue and is good, but another has folly and wickedness and is bad? And is this true?
Quite true.
Then what will they say? Those who lay down that soul is harmony. What will they say these things are which are in the souls, virtue and vice? Will they say these are yet another harmony and a discord, and say that one soul is harmonized, the good one, and being itself harmony, has in it another harmony, but the other is discordant itself, and has in it no other harmony?
I can't say. But it is clear that one who laid that down would say something of that kind.
But we agreed before that one soul is not more or less soul than other. That means it is agreed that one is not more or less harmony than another, nor to a greater or less degree than that other. Is that so?
Certainly.
But that which is neither more nor less harmony has been neither more nor less harmonized. Is that true?
That is true.
Well, when it is neither more nor less harmonized, can it partake of harmony to a greater or less degree, or only the same?
The same, Socrates.
Then soul, since one is no more than another, what we actually mean by soul, consequently is neither more nor less harmonized.
Just so.
In this condition, it would have no greater share of discord or harmony.
No, indeed.
Then in this condition, one would not partake of vice or virtue more than another, if vice is discord and virtue harmony?
No more.
Rather, I think, Simmias, according to right reasoning, no soul will partake of vice if it is really harmony. For harmony, which is wholly this very thing, harmony, could never partake of discord.
Never, surely.
Nor could soul partake of vice if it is wholly soul.
How could it, after what we've admitted?
By this our reasoning, then, all souls of all living creatures will be equally good, if they are equally and actually souls.
I think so, Socrates.
Do you think that is correct? And do you think our argument would have come to this state if the foundation were right? That is, that soul is harmony?
Not in the least.
Well now, of all that there is in man, would you say anything rules but soul, especially a wise one?
No, not I.
A soul which gives way to the feelings of the body, or one that even opposes them? I mean something like this. Suppose fever be in the body and thirst. Would you say soul drags it in the opposite way, so as not to drink? And if hunger be in it, not to eat? And we see the soul opposing the body in thousands of other things, don't we?
We do.
Well then, did we not moreover agree earlier that if it be indeed a harmony, it would never sound a tune opposing the elements from which it arises, according as they are strung tight or loose, and twangled, and however else they are treated? It must follow these. It must follow these. It could never lead them.
Therefore, there can be no ruler of the soul. It would then be dominated by the desires of the body. Right? He said, this is where it goes. Go ahead.
Yes, we did agree, of course.
Very well. Don't we see it now doing the very opposite, leading all the things from which it is said to be composed, and opposing almost always all through life, a tyrant in every way, punishing them sometimes harshly and with bodily pain, that is through gymnastic and physic, sometimes gently, giving now threats and now advice, talking to desires and angers and fears, just as if it was different from them, and they from it. Remember, too, Homer's lines in the Odyssey, where he says somewhere of Odysseus, striking his chest, he thus reproached his heart. My heart, bear up, you have borne worse than this. Do you think when he composed this, he regarded the soul as a kind of harmony, something to be led by the body's feelings? Surely not, but as something able to lead these and play the tyrant, something much more divine than a harmony.
Hey, last step, he invokes Homer. Watch the way he concludes. Go ahead.
Yes, indeed, Socrates, I agree.
Then, my good sir, it is quite wrong altogether to say that the soul is a harmony, for it appears we should contradict Homer, the divine poet, and ourselves too.
Just so.
Go ahead, one more.
So much for that, then, said Socrates. Our Theban harmonia has been appeased, it
Hey,
seems,
what does that mean?
pretty well.
He sees that
The myth
the argument from Harmonia comes from
Thebes.
Thebes. Therefore, it's a religion of the Thebes, and this is the way he's taking it apart. Now, going back, remember what we started with? Does he take an analogy? Does he take a religious position, the Theban religion, the goddess Harmonia? Therefore, people then accept the idea that the soul is like a harmony. They have the position. Does he then say, let's see whether it follows? It sounds probable. It sounds good. Then he turns it in every way he can, so there's no string left over. What do you think?
Talk about pushing the implications.
I think it's...
Why don't we go into new dialogue next time? I was thinking, why don't we do the Alcibiades? Huh?
Yes.
We haven't done that in a long time. What do you think? Good? Let's do it. Thank you.
First or second?
First.
Pardon me?
First or second Alcibiades?
First or second Alcibiades?
Put the first in your left, put the second in your right pocket. We'll have fun with them both. But we have to do one first, all right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, how do you like our new joint?
Like it. Well done.
If you don't mind calling it a joint.
Don't forget to remind me to hand you something. I forgot to read tonight. I'll hand something to you tomorrow, so it's done. Okay, and you're coming by tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry to interrupt.
This morning I should have told you.